Okay, welcome to their Plum Woman's podcast. Today's conversation is one so many women and families need because when it comes to diabetes, the advice people often hear can feel discouraging, disconnected, and far removed from foods and traditions that we grew up with. Most people is like, here, no, you can eat, and then you start wondering, what in the world will I live on? So, but on the podcast, we have been taking care of that woman and her family for this episode. So that is the plan for this episode today. Today, we're joined by an endocrinologist. I think I said it right. And a dietitian who co-authored a diabetes education handbook inspired by West African cuisine. Together, they're helping people see what diabetes education can be practical. That diabetes education can be practical, cultural relevant, and deeply empowering. So I am so excited for this conversation and I'm looking forward to learn a lot as well as dig into some of the behind the scenes of how all this came through and how you can benefit from this guide and how you can get it. So, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the Plum Women podcast. We're talking about something we all face but rarely name: tough conversations. Whether it's with aging parents, our careers, or even ourselves, these moments can feel heavy, scary, or just damn near impossible. But here's the truth: you are not alone. Over this season, we'll share stories, expert advice, and practical steps that help you move from hesitation to action. We'll talk about real life experiences from women in the diaspora navigating the pressures of family, faith, identity, and midlife transition. Welcome to the lounge. Sisters, let's talk.
Welcome, Dr. MacAuley and Lucia, to the Sisters Let's Talk podcast.
Wow, you actually managed to introduce me as a stranger.
Yes, that is the goal. I'm very official in my duties today. So welcome, welcome. Um, so Lucia is the familiar face that you've seen on this podcast. Today, she's taking a totally different role. Um, and You've known Lucia is born and raised in Sierra Leone, West Africa, and she is from a multicultural background. She holds a BS and a RD, which is registered dietitian from the University of Mankato, United States, and a master's in public health from the University of Toronto. And with 17 years of clinical experience, she is ready to give back to her community. And she has been doing that for a long time. And she is very, very passionate about Africans in the diaspora and how she can meet those needs. Um, Lucia lives on the philosophy that God has given us one life and we should make the best of it. Her favorite motto is, "You are what you eat." Welcome, Lucia, to their Plum Woman podcast. She's clocking it. But I am overly spooked to welcome. I'm gonna give you his full government name because that's what's on the guide. I don't want to miss any part of that. I have further questions on that. But for now, I want to welcome Dr. Mavin Ekundayo O. MacAuley. to the sisters. It's such a privilege to welcome you, Doctor, to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I'll give, like, this is just a very compressed bio that I'm going to read for Dr. MacAuley because he has a lot of letters and numbers behind his name. But Dr. MacAuley is a native from Sierra Leone. Mavin is a highly qualified physician specializing in diabetes and endocrinology and general medicine. Um, Mavin completed his Doctor of Medicine degree at Newcastle University, UK, and is dual accredited as a fellow of both the Royal College of Physicians in Edinburgh and the Royal Australasian College of Physicians. Um, Marvin is very, very passionate about letting Sierra Leoneans and Africans in general learn about their body and he about the diabetes epidemic among his fellow Sierra Leoneans. One thing I'm super excited and love about his bio is that um, he introduced that my late mother, Edna, was a renowned caterer in Sierra Leone, and her passion for food sparked my enduring fascination with the nutritional value of our delicious West African cuisine, which ultimately inspired me to create this resource. Thank you, Dr. MacAuley, and welcome to the podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So, Dr. MacAuley, I'm going to start exactly on that note about your mom. I know for her to be part of your bio, she must have meant a lot to you. And talking about her being a caterer, I know that is my language. I speak food. So, um, if you don't mind talking about how she inspired it actually inspired you to do this, and probably let us know a little bit about her.
My mom passed some 9 years ago now, may her soul rest. But she was a beautiful woman, a beautiful soul, a giver, a lover. Um, she was kind of, the go-to place for food or the go-to place for your problems. And she helped a lot of people, a lot of friends, a lot of families. And being a single mom, raising two kids and other sort of siblings was I think the epiphany of what she also achieved. But she was also a civil servant, and she had just love for food. She just loved people eating her food,
Oh,
and I think Lucia can attest to that. Um, and so with this love for food, she had to see two sons, one through medical school, one through law school, and that could have been a challenge on a civil servant's salary. So we kind of said, well, Mom, this is your passion. Why don't you, do what you like and get us through university and give us a start in life. So that was how the food thing started. And I don't want to advertise myself as a cook. I think I am skilled in other areas, but I can hold my own in the kitchen. Um, so and then when I sort of went through medical school in Sierra Leone and moved over to the UK to do postgraduate studies and ended up doing diabetes and endocrinology. Um, but then, the fundamental thing we learned in my very fine specialty is lifestyle changes, and it all
Mhm.
goes down to food. And then, as you can see, I've probably had experiences in 4 continents, and everywhere I have been, I have there's something common that I've noticed, that the indigenous people of the land don't engage very well with traditional medical um, providers. And the reason being,
Mm.
so for example, if someone's been used to eating their fufu or their tapalapa bread or for example, a simple example, you can't tell a Muslim don't eat sausages and bacon. He's just not going to form that bond with you because you don't understand his
Yeah.
food. And we had the opportunity to, I had the, I had the opportunity, Lucy and I had the opportunity to go back in terms of helping people in Salem. And I just remembered that, oh, well, I love food. I understand the culture. These are my people. And my mom used to do this. Had it not been for food, I probably would have never made it through medical school. I probably would have never made it to England. So how about combining my mom's legacy? I can't do it as good as she did it in the kitchen, but I can add, value to it by
Mm.
helping, my kith and king understand how to eat their food in a better way. So it's very much centered into the individual sitting here today. And those of you listening, and I'm sure Edna MacAuley is a household name when it comes to good African food. And couple of years down the line, Marvin is continuing that journey from a health perspective. So it's actually continuing my
Oh, that
mom's,
is beautiful.
yes, rather than just doing things randomly.
That is really beautiful. I like that story. I really do like that story. For me, when it comes to food, it is synonymous to my grandmother because she was a foodie, and we that was where like we agreed on almost everything because she liked food. I like being with her in the kitchen. Um, so I'm sure we'll learn a lot of the things that she did right, and the things that she probably could have done better with the education that you guys give. So um, Lucy, I know, is a dietitian. She has walked me. We have episodes that she has walked me through um, what it means to like a food and be also to see professionals that deal with food and understand it. And I think one of the questions I asked her at that time was, how would somebody like a professional know the kind of food I'm supposed to eat so I can be healthy? And she walked me through that. So having this something like this come out is I think it's a step up to where we're going with understanding ourselves with food. So Lucia, I'm gonna ask, why was it necessary to partner with an endocrinologist to talk about food? I know you're foodie as well, but why was it really important? Why was it important? Like, what did that mean for you at this time in your career?
I think it's two parts because, yeah, I started off as a dietitian, but I'm also a physician assistant. So as a result of that, I see both sides. So I dealt with just
Mm,
the nutrition of things, of the food, but I also dealt with the other parts, so the medications and so on and so forth. And so when you combine those two, um, I see a lot of, the diabetes population wise, country wise, continent wise is increasing. So I've seen so many people from so many different cultures. And one of the struggles is adjusting their food, adjusting their diet. Is one of the
mm,
struggles that they always have. And this was typically uh, non-North American or non-Caucasians that will struggle with it, because the general consensus to a degree was always the salad and so on and so forth, which kind of
mhm,
sometimes ignores all the other foods that we all know, love, and grew up with and still love. And then the second part of it, how we got there. So I always wanted to try and figure out how do we get people and how do I teach people to value their food and know that there is nutritional value and they can use it and still implement it in a quote unquote medical diabetes guide that we'll give them. And the second part is so I've known Dr. MacAuley for forever, since I was what, 15, 14, 15. I even ate mom's food. She was one of those, eat, Lucia, eat. You need to eat better. Basically, they love their food and they enjoyed people enjoying what they cooked, which is probably you, Fumi. So we've always, from time to time, we've been in touch. And so wherever he went, he would talk about his experiences and I would share my experiences and we'll be like, oh, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And I think an opportunity came up where a friend of his asked him to help with his parent. And he's like, Lucia, you have the background, the dietitian background. Do you think we can do something here? So pretty much that's how we started, because we actually worked through with this lady, and we saw positive results that by, I think, halfway through, she herself was making the changes and so proud and giving us, she will come back and give us the feedback. I did this, I did that, all with her own foods that she was eating, that she was used to, without having to buy anything extra, do anything extra, just about the awareness. And it made such a difference to her blood sugar. So then we're like, hey, maybe we could do something, more sustainable to help more of our people. So that's how it started, more or less, I think. You can fill in the gaps.
That is
Yeah, I think
beautiful. And I like the and I like the angle that you guys went with this. So you actually had somebody that did what you were doing before you even went to write this, so you actually know what is going to help people.
Yeah, we
Dr.
did
MacAuley, I
several
have a
patients.
question, or my next. Okay, perfect. And my next question is, who are the people that will benefit the most of this? So I started reading, and like the first part is, it's very heavy on the research, which is very essential. But numbers is not my thing. When I moved and I started seeing the pictures of the food, that got me excited. So if somebody picks up this guide, or I'm just trying to think, like, from your perspective, who will be the person that you'll say, even before I talk to you, or before you talk to a doctor, this guide will take you? Or, like, is it a woman that has family history, or a woman that is pregnant, or who will benefit the most from this guide?
so. If I start off from where Fumi just last commented on. So the one of the challenges which sort of evolved whilst we were writing this book, I'm used to writing for academic journals, and but again, writing academically is different from writing in the Queen's English, and it's different for writing for an African to understand. So we had to rewrite the book, I think 4 or 5 times, right, to get it
Like
to this,
5 times.
to get it to where we wanted. And basically, the book is for everyone. It is from the academic who is looking for a research project. It is for the policymakers. It is for those who are not, who kind of have a picture brain. It is for those who just enjoy reading. The book is for everyone. Everyone who wants to get rid of their diabetes, everyone who wants to improve their diabetes, or everyone who wants to prevent getting diabetes. Now, we deliberately left out the pregnancy bit for now, but that's a bit that we will address,
Okay.
in another edition. I agree with you. The first bit is science. So that's a diluted form. Honestly speaking, that's a very, very diluted form. But it's to give the
But why
basics.
was it
And
necessary though? Why was it necessary for us to see that, if I
good
might
question,
ask?
because the typical
Uh-huh.
African, we always live in a conclusion, or we always live believing this will not apply to me. It's a white man disease.
Thank you.
It's a this disease. It's a that disease. So what we,
Hmm.
if you go through the book, hopefully you would. So the science is there, and we've even quoted like studies from all over the world, studies from the Chinese. So if it applies to the Chinese, it will apply to you. If it applies to the Brits, it will apply to you. If it applies to the Americans, it will apply to you. But also, I think we should. I want the readers to look at it. Well, if the Chinese have benefits, why can't I benefit? If the Americans have benefits, why can't I benefit? I Why can't I benefit when it's written by my own people I can trust, by my own people who understand my own diet? Okay. If you take it from the academic side of things, okay, I over the years I'm very grateful for the education and the opportunities I've been given in life. But however, using that knowledge now for my own people, for me, takes precedence. And sometimes when I look at these research studies um, in Africa on African people, it does not serve the immediate attention of Africans. And therefore, may I use your platform to encourage
Yeah.
African academics? It is our people. We should be doing, up to now, we still, a lot of us import rice. Which grain is better than the other? We don't know. Can we genetically
Hmm.
engineer these grains to improve so we can enjoy our rice? Because, an African without rice is not African at all. We can enjoy our rice, but at the same time, not be disastrous to our health. So it's about high time that academics starts looking at this from an academic perspective as well. And I think all of us needs to get on board. Individuals need to take they need to take they need to you need to take your own health seriously and apply whatever help you can from the people you can trust. So yes, it's science heavy, but it's to give the overall view. And if you think the science is too heavy for you, move on to the food section. You can still understand because it's all interlinked. You can even move on to, there was a, without giving too much away, there was a bit
Yeah.
where we talked about the cookery. We call them the food vendor. Yeah, locally we call it cookery. So I'll
That's
leave it at
right.
that.
Yep.
So, if I may actually add to what
But
he
I will.
says,
Okay. Go on.
I just quickly, Fumi, when we put this together, yes, we understood that there's some parts that some people might not, it's either too wordy, too academic, but at the same time, I think sometimes, again, us Africans, typically, we there are other things, if they have interest in them, people will read. As long as they have
Yep.
interest, people will actually read, regardless of how quote unquote scientific it is. They will actually then try to do even further research to understand it better. I think part of why we kept it in was to have people uh, see the actual numbers, to say this is actually something serious. Yes, we want people to
Yep.
be comfortable with the food that your cultural food, and we want you to use this practical guide to improve your health. But why should you even pick it up? Why should you even think about your diabetes and health? And the numbers and that
Mm-hmm.
part of the research shows that this is why it's important. The other thing is, in as much as we people talk about diabetes, some people call it the sugar disease, etc. But some people don't actually understand what it is, so don't know what diabetes is,
That was
whether
my
there's
next question.
is it, yeah.
That was
So,
my
and
next
that,
question. So if you want to talk to the person that we meet on the street that probably never opened a school book or something like that, right? Or have, like, we hear about diabetes all the time and all these medications that are available for it. How would you explain diabetes to that person from so that they understand what it is? Basically, I know it as you should reduce your sugar and not eat rice. Basically, I'm sure that's
so
not
I
what the definition of diabetes is.
I think, Marvin, let me answer, then
What is
you
diabetes?
respond.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Let me answer, then you respond. So again, in part of it in there, we understand not everyone is going to be able to pick up and say, oh, let me pick up and read the book, right? Or understand it. But we also in there, if you go through it, you see that we also have some of our language. So we had Creole in it, so that it helps to some people will be able to relate to it. So when we did descriptions, we also put in some of our local language in there, one of them, because we have many,
Mhm.
and talked about this. But the other part of it is, this is like just the beginning of it. It's almost like a train the trainer kind of guide as well. So it has many uses for that individual who
Okay.
wants to know more and can pick it up and follow it, as well as for that community health
Hmm.
worker who has access to someone who may not be able to read it and understand, but that community health worker, it's broken down enough that they can now take it, review it, and now explain it to someone else. So I'll stop there so Marvin can add to it.
Do you want to know how our first patient, a mother with little education, fared using the diabetes guide? Join us next time as we conclude this conversation with host Fumi, Lucia, and Dr. Mavin.